cái trà lẫn khai cái snap đấy nó phun mình tăng thêm.
All the participants, a very good morning to all of you. We'll be starting in a few minutes. It's a gentle request to kindly keep your microphone off. Kindly keep your microphone off. वो मैम म्यूट अपॉन एंट्री वाला ऑप्शन अपन ने ऑन करा हुआ है, लेकिन इनका माइक्रोफोन
Hello. Hello.
A very good morning to all of you, all the participants. Before we start this webinar, it's a gentle request, kindly keep your video off and your mic also turned off so that we can stream easily. Because we are having a very large meeting, we have more than 1200 registrations. We are streaming live on YouTube also. The group will be shared, the link will be shared in the group, in the WhatsApp group. So if you're not able to join Zoom, you can watch on YouTube live. So to manage this webinar, I request you all to keep your videos off because streaming will be easy for all of us if we keep our videos off and your mic turned off. Am I audible to all of you? Can I see yes in the chat box? Am I audible? Can I see yes, yes? Okay. So people are listening. Good. Okay. So on behalf of Samrat Prithviraj Chauhan Government College Ajmer, the patron and principal Dr. M.L. Agarwal sir, IQAC coordinator Dr. Manjula Mishra, ma'am, assistant director DCE Dr. Sunita Pachori, convener of the webinar Dr. Reena Vyas, advisor of the webinar Dr. Anita Sharma, the convener of the Central Webinar Committee, Dr. V. Uma, and all the members of the organizing committee. It's my privilege to welcome you all in this two-day national webinar on integrated strategies for biodiversity and ecological restoration. COVID-19 pandemic, it is compelling us to rethink and redefine the strategies for biodiversity conservation. It has brought about total transformation by confining human beings at home. The world is fighting against an invisible opponent that has forced us all to push and pause button in our lives. Coining a new term, anthropause, the crisis has also had a deep impact on wildlife. While the world has come to a complete and utter standstill, nature seems to be reclaiming her territory. Wild animals near urban cityscapes are taking this opportunity to stop beyond the comforts of their forested homes. Global wildlife trade has been thrown into the spotlight, and wildlife tourism too has felt the impact of this pandemic. As expanding human populations are transforming environment at unprecedented rates, understanding the linkage between human and animal behavior is of critical importance. This webinar is a sincere effort by SPCGCA family to provide a platform to the global community of environmental and life sciences professionals to discuss the economic prosperity vis-a-vis environmental stability. Finally, we wish to share a very important sentiment. While this is no doubt COVID-19 a valuable research opportunity for us, it is one that has only come through tragic circumstances. As we start this 2-day journey, I am just giving you a short recap of what we are going to see in this 2-day. So I'll be using Google Earth to take you to this journey of 2 days. It's a small journey because I'll be telling you about Ajmer and why we are focusing on this webinar. SPCGC, it is one of the oldest forests of North India. It was established in 1836 and it is re-accredited A grade by NAC. We are holding the traditions high, and this webinar is just an attempt for that. So Google Earth is taking you to a journey and we are reaching to Ajmer. Biodiversity. Why we are focusing on biodiversity? Without biodiversity, life cannot be sustained. Our nation is famous for its diversity, maybe it our cultures, religion, or the life forms like microbes, flora, or fauna. Moving you to the main biodiversity hotspot of Ajmer, this is Anasagar Lake. Since we have many participants from all over India, so I'm giving a brief description. This lake is in the center of the city, and the lake becomes of special importance and attraction during winters when a number of migratory birds are seen in and around the lake and its surrounding wetlands. So it becomes a hotspot for photographers and the researchers. As we move from Anasagar Lake, you see this is another wetland. This is the wetland of Foy Sagar Lake. And Foy Sagar Lake, if you see, there's no human inhabitation. So it's a very nascent wetland, and a lot of birds are seen, birds and other flora and fauna are seen in this wetland. As we move from Foy Sagar Lake, we move to a very sacred lake of Pushkar. This Pushkar Lake is surrounded by very large human inhabitations, and still migratory birds are seen here every year. So this is Pushkar Lake, and when we move from Pushkar Lake, this is the wetland of Kishangarh. It's Gundlaur Lake and Hamir Sagar. They host a diverse life form, and the major attractions include flamingos and the grebes. And another area is Nasirabad. See, it's not a wetland, but why Nasirabad is important? Because the state bird of Rajasthan, GIB, the great Indian bustard, was found in large numbers in this region between Nasirabad and Sarwar. But its population declined drastically from 72 to only 24 in 2004, and then to only 2 in 2014. And today they have totally vanished from this region. So this area, and Nasirabad, near Shokliya, we have Florican also. So we are moving from Nasirabad to Biawar. So it's 55 kilometers from Ajmer, and this is the wetland of Beecherly Lake. Again, if you see, this is completely surrounded by human inhabitations, but still, even after this extensive colonization and encroachment, we have flora and fauna, and the bar-headed goose, Eurasian spoonbills, rosy pelicans, little string have struggled to maintain their nick during the migratory seasons. Now, when I moved from Beecherly Lake, I've reached to Todgar Rowley Center. It's famous for the presence of bear, blue bulls, Asian paradise flycatcher. It's a very diverse area. From Todgar Rowley Sanctuary, I move to Shoklia. See, this Shoklia is a floricans about in the picture on the right hand side. You see, this is a caricature of florican which is made on Anasagar Lake, because this is the mascot of Ajmer. The lesser florican is a mascot of Ajmer. Kharmor it is called here. When we move from Shoklia, we reach to the region where a keynote speaker, Dr. K. Raj Mona, worked. She did a groundbreaking research work on the systematic investigation on the biodiversity of diapered fauna. She is an entomologist, and her work region is Kerala. Right now, she is posted at ZSI Kolkata. So today, now, diverse man, he's working on organic farming. So from Chandigarh, today again to this, we will reach to six on green. Am I audible now? Can you write yes in the chat box? Okay, thank you. There is some glitch in the network. It's raining here. So that's why we were stopping this journey of Google Earth here. So now I'm inviting the captain of our ship, the principal of SPC Government College Ajmer, Dr. ML Agarwal, for his inaugural speech.
SPC College Ajmer, Zoology डिपार्टमेंट वेबिनार में आप सभी का हार्दिक अभिनंदन है। आज की कीनोट स्पीकर डॉक्टर राजमोहन के एंड इनवाइटेड स्पीकर डॉक्टर उपेंद्र नाथ रॉय, डॉक्टर मंजुला मिश्रा, कोऑर्डिनेटर IQAC GCA, डॉक्टर सुनीता पचौरी, असिस्टेंट डायरेक्टर अजमेर डिवीजन, डॉक्टर रीना व्यास, कन्वीनर वेबिनार एंड HOD जोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंट, विकास सक्सेना, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग सेक्रेटरी, डॉक्टर प्रकाश सी शर्मा, को ऑर्गेनाइजिंग सेक्रेटरी, सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स, मेरे साथी और रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स, कोविड 2019 के पश्चात एकेडमिक डिस्कशन हेतु वेबिनार हमें प्लेटफॉर्म के रूप में मिला। इस महाविद्यालय में 22 डिपार्टमेंट है, उनमें से ये 6 वेबिनार यहाँ आयोजित की जा रही है। 5 डिपार्टमेंट इसी तरह के डिस्कशंस पूर्व में कर चुके हैं और कोविड-19 के पश्चात एकेडमिक डिस्कशन को निरंतर बनाए रखने हेतु और अच्छे एकेडमिशियंस, साइंटिस्ट और रिसर्चर्स के व्यूज हमें सुनने को मिले, देखने को मिले और सीखने को मिले, इस हेतु ये कंटिन्यूस वेबिनार यहाँ आयोजित की जा रही है। इस वेबिनार में आयोजन टीम को मैं बधाई देता हूँ कि उन्होंने एक मैक्सिमम स्ट्रेंथ 1265 डेलीगेट्स के साथ ये हमारी मोर देन 1000 फर्स्ट वेबिनार है और आप लोगों से हम सीधी बातचीत कर पा रहे हैं। तो इस वेबिनार के लिए मैं शुभकामनाएं देता हूं और हमारे कीनोट स्पीकर और इनवाइटेड स्पीकर्स को हार्दिक अभिनंदन और धन्यवाद अदा करता हूं। जय हिंद।
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the address. Now we'll be starting. Now we will be starting with the keynote address. I'm just giving a brief description of the keynote speaker, Dr. K. Rajmohana. She is a scientist and coordinator of ENVIS. She's working at ZSI Kolkata, and she's also the national coordinator of the Green Skill Development Program. She received the ZSI High Performance Award 2011 and 2012. She had described and published 140 species of parasitic Hymenoptera and Isoptera, and she has published records of 15 species, 6 genera, and 1 subfamily under the class Insecta. She has more than 140 research papers and taxonomic monographs and books, chapters, CDs. The CV is unlimited. We are happy to have her online today with us and to share her expertise. It's a very gentle request to all of the participants. Due to rains here, we may be, the audio or the video may break, but be patient. As soon as the internet connectivity will increase, you will be getting the better video and audio. And you can log in to YouTube also, and we'll be sharing the videos also later. So I invite for the keynote address, Dr. K. Rajmohana. Welcome, ma'am. Ma'am, you have to unmute
Yes, yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Shall I start the screen sharing now?
Yes, ma'am, you can start.
Yeah. So, a very fine good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I am thanking Dr. Vikas Saxena and his team for inviting me for this keynote address. And I also thank Director Zedazai for granting me this opportunity. Just a couple of lines before I enter into the topic. Have been working in this field of biodiversity science in the capacity of a taxonomist for more than 25 years. So in my journey as a taxonomist, we are mostly involved in creating or generating species list in a particular area, let it be a forest, let it be an agro ecosystem, let it be a protected area, whatever. So taxonomy and species conservation always goes hand in hand. And that is how we generally serve the society. Because even for conservation purpose, we have to depend on a list of species in a particular area. So with that introduction, let me come to the topic. See, I am presenting here the views which I also agree very well upon, and mostly are taken from very authentic citations. Literature is, I have cited the relevant literature in most of the slides. So let's go to the topic. Beginning on a lighter note, like what all are we seeing around us at in the current situation, then going little bit forward into like what the government's action has been in the COVID scenario to protect the biodiversity. And then we'll move on to the core topic of the impact as well as linkages of COVID with biodiversity. This is the situation. I'm sure all of you will agree with me. We are all staying at home. But let us see the positive side of it. I am able to meet you all today because of this webinar. And this webinar system got launched due to the stay at home or the lockdown system which we are experiencing now. So with the advanced technology, lot of people can participate, wider dissemination is possible. So that is the happy side of it. Coming to the general scenes or what exactly happened or is happening around. Less vehicles are there on the road. People are traveling very less. So naturally, fossil fuel emissions and pollution, general environmental pollution will be very less. So all these are taken as a positive impact of the lockdown and our remaining in home. But I should caution that all these are, though we are considering positive, it is a very temporary state. It is a temporary phenomenon only. It won't last. The blue sky as well as the clear water and the news of some sort of sensitive faunal species benefiting from the reduced human activities in this protected areas, and due to that ecotourism restrictions and all these are a transient phenomena. See, some interesting news which have been in the social media and in the newspapers. A lot of discussions were happening. Just a couple of three or four scenes I have taken from it. And let's see how relevant all these things are. Okay, they were not fake news. Some of them were fake, but these are not fake news. A small Indian civet cat was seen roaming on the road in Kerala, in a district at Wayanad. People were amused. Usually, this is a very shy creature. It is a nocturnal animal. How come it is coming so public on the road during daytime? But later, it succumbed to death, it seems. It was means it had some sort of illness, and it was walking very slowly, and it is nothing related to like, wow, some biodiversity has come to the town like that. Again, information from Delhi that a nilgai is staring at you from on the road. So, and a tusker was seen walking during daytime as a stroll, I think. This is again from Wayanad, the border district between Kerala and Karnataka. See, it is a forest land nearby. Usually when you travel from Kerala to Karnataka in bus or by road, I should say, you will see sometimes herds of means deer, spotted deer, as well as samba deer, plus elephants here and there. But that is usually confined to the forest area, and a tusker taking a walk in front of the shops is not very common. Of course, there is no human activity outside, so silent atmosphere. It would have thought that it need not take the long way through the forest, can take a short route to go somewhere, maybe to his feeding site somewhere. From West Bengal also, we had news that the Gangetic dolphin has been seen at the Calcutta Ghats, and after a gap of 30 years, because less this ship or this boat traffic in the rivers. So that kind of news is exciting, but again, it doesn't have much significance compared to this COVID system. Only thing is that the difference which is made by the absence of humans, that only enabled them to come outside. Other than that, all these incidents cannot be given any much significance. See, there is something called urban biodiversity, where you can have, you will see some sort of mammals like civet, mongoose, jackal, sometimes jungle cat, civets, then squirrels. All these animals are there. Also, some kind of snakes and of course birds also. People in their general lifestyle don't have time to stand or sit and stare at all these creatures. Now that most of us are sitting at home, we have a lot of time to appreciate nature, and there are instances that more and more photographs are being taken regarding nature, regarding animals, beautiful flowers, they are being shared in the internets. People are becoming naturalists, it seems. So these are all small transient, means filling the gap issues, that's all. Another scene is that even government in several states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, they were taking steps to feed the animals like stray dogs as well as the monkeys. See, for a long time, though being a wild animal, the monkeys have been adapted to the human inhabitation to an extent. Those staying in the forest edges especially. So they come to the tourist areas, they come to the temples nearby, and people give them food also. So all of a sudden, the lockdown and all shops are not there, hotels are not there, even temples are not functioning. So government wanted people to feed them. Though there is some excitement in the issue, later studies or experts from the mammal experts from institutes like SECON and many other institutes, they warned that this should not be encouraged, that feeding the primates, because of the possibility of the transmission of the virus from human beings to monkeys. Of course, see, even the people in the uniform are feeding the hungry. So this is also a positive note to an extent, that our humane aspect. Since this webinar is hosted in Rajasthan, I was just seeing what is happening in Rajasthan. So I came to know from Down to Earth and from many that kind of media that the camel herders are facing a lot of issues. Rajasthan is a place where more than 2 lakhs camels are there, and the people earn a living out of these camels. So lack of enough animal health camps during the lockdown time, and this particular period, the animals had to be taken periodic vaccinations, and that has not happened. There is a threat of the contagious skin disease, sarcoptic mang in camels, and also the heartbreaking news that many of the camels were abandoned by the herders. They couldn't manage them because there was a ban, or they couldn't take them to grazing grounds, so they couldn't feed them, and there was an issue of selling the milk which was already collected. So these are all other social issues also arising out of the issue, or due to the pandemic itself, means the lockdown issues. Okay. So, and there is another news, some of you will be knowing that the olive ridley turtles came nesting during the daytime in Rishikulya beach in Orissa. See, there are media propagating this as also an effect of COVID, but there is nothing related to COVID or lockdown regarding that, because 7 years ago also this phenomena had happened, that day nesting of the turtles, olive ridley. So when we depend on the media, we should have that discriminative mind to accept the fake news and believe the real ones. Okay, some serious happenings, I should say. There was a birding exercise by the NGO, Bird Count India. It was all over. See, you can see the map. You can see a lot of dots there. They are the locations marked by the birders during this particular event. From starting from 27th March to the end of lockdown, there was a program announced that you have to stand in a particular place. It is a stationary protocol for 15 minutes and watch the birds. 4 slots of timings were given. So after watching them, you have to make a list, and the list has to be uploaded in that eBird platform, ebird.org India. And see, 48,000 lists were uploaded, and most of them were the maximum participants were from Kerala. And the prize winners also were from Kerala, it seems. Another interesting study, it's not very scientific, but still worth mentioning during the time of this pandemic, I should say. This is from an Envis newsletter recently published from JNU, Delhi. So it is a citizen science study where they were watching butterflies. Just like people are fond of these birds, there are people who are fond of these beautiful butterflies. So they were taking a walk, and they, in the middle of the city, they started observing butterflies. And so to add a little science to it, they divided the entire that period, that our COVID period into pre-lockdown, then lockdown months and post-lockdown. And that way they organized their observations. And they came out with the result that this one with the fritillary was seen in the pre-lockdown. But all the other 4 species, they were seen only during that May month of the lockdown, and that this Tony Costa was seen in April also. And in the post-lockdown during June, they were not able to see any of the species in the center of the city. So the justification is that there was no mowing or like managing the weeds on either side of the roads, on the gardens, parks, etc. So these butterflies were having enough breeding grounds. And another thing, they are also indicators of environmental situation, means it was comparatively a better time for all living organisms. So they had their appearance. So this is also an interesting study. Okay, so leaving all those, let us see what was the main actions from the government side. It was a very positive approach that in April, the first week of April, there was an advisory from the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change regarding the containment and management of COVID in the national park sanctuaries and tiger reserves. To preventive measure to stop the transmission and reducing that human wildlife interface, then restriction of tourism or even people's movement in the protected areas, and special task force and rapid action force was constituted to manage any emergency situations, and also for essential services were set up for treating the animals if found ill. Not only MOEFCC, but also the Central Zoo Authority, then the National Tiger Conservation Authority, all of them issued special guidelines for the welfare of the protection of the animals, as well as their own staff. Like they were instructed to do the social distancing when they are on the rounds. Still in between the COVID period and all, they were taking on foot their watch over even into the remote areas of the sanctuaries. So these are very positive notes. So what triggered MOEFCC to pass or to make such an advisory? See, it is regarding it was a caution regarding the spread of COVID from human to animals. There was a news that a 4-year-old female tiger at the Bronx Zoo in New York got the infection from, we don't know the origin, from whom he got or whom she got, because nobody who tended the animals tested positive as per the report. Maybe from some asymptomatic person, this virus got into this tiger, and from that tiger it spread to other tigers and also a few lions. So it can be a grave issue. Hearing that, all of a sudden our ministry took this particular step to protect our wildlife. That is the first step of caution. And there were several studies going on, and lots of publication are keeping on coming on what is the effect of, like, whether COVID is spread to animals from humans, like that. And it has been seen that non-human primates like monkeys are very much susceptible. Also, dogs and cats were found susceptible in some of the studies. And they could also see the capability of onward transmission of the COVID from ferrets and cats. Studies conducted on the ferrets and cats. Ferrets are a sort of civets. When they did some studies on the livestock, the pigs and chickens were not found susceptible, at least thankful to that aspect. So the general finding is that though COVID-19 is considered to be a zoonotic disease of animal origin, the role of animals in the spread of the virus for the time being, as of now, is negligible. The gravity of the spread is from human to human. Transmission, yeah. We cannot go to the next slide. Something is happening. Yeah. So, what is the scenario in the protected areas in India because of this particular? See, whatever we are discussing today, it is only on the grounds or on the scenario of the pandemic. We know that lakhs of people have returned from urban areas to native, means to the all over India. En masse migration we have seen in the media. So because of that, there is this difference in the society, means the livelihood patterns, or there is a problem of unemployment. Then what is the situation? You can also imagine that people living in the verge of the forest, when they are having issues to take their life forward, when they are in between the poverty curse, it is natural they depend more on the forest, go for hunting for bushmeat, the local consumption increases. Along with that, even the demand for the non-timber forest products, that also mounts. Increased poaching, all these will result in human-wildlife conflict, more interaction between humans and wild animals. See, at the same time, there is a reduction in the staff in the case of the forest department also. They also have budget constraints. So there is a staff cut in their case also. So it has affected to an extent some of the management practices, which the poachers have made use of. That wildlife poaching is reported on the high during this particular period. And another thing, the livelihoods of the communities living in and around forests. See, because of that advisory issued by the MOFCC itself, many of the indigenous tribal communities who are living inside the protected areas, they had to face several kind of issues. They were not permitted to take their animals for grazing outside. They couldn't attend to their regular agricultural duties in their farmlands. So sufferings are umpteen, but these things are bound to happen. When we see the protected area aspect in the global scenario also, some other points can also be added to what we saw in India, because the wildlife and nature tourism is a very much flourishing industry, annually producing around 120 billion to 346 billion US dollars, giving 21.8 million jobs. So that tourism sector is one of the sector which suffered like anything due to this COVID pandemic issue. Then there are people, means just as we discussed during our previous slide, the community-based conservation system, where the indigenous people of the indigenous tribes are selected, and they sometimes do the job of the nature guide inside the park for the tourists. Their income is also affected. So their livelihood option is also blocked. Again, this local level poaching, encroachment for grazing, then illegal fishing, all these are happening not just in India, but everywhere. One aspect is that the high value transnational trafficking, big budget, this wildlife trafficking, which usually occurs across the borders between nations, that really declined due to travel restrictions. That is a good thing. And unlike in India, abroad, there are a lot of private protected areas, in the sense protected areas managed by private. They own a lot, a particular stretch of land. And also zoos, they are also permitted to keep animals in the private zoos. We don't have that system much in India. So there also, their income got limited due to the tourism or the general situation, general ban on the activity of humans. So these are all, each and every industry, each and every sector, in particular biodiversity, has been impacted due to this COVID. So we are all little bit related to the scientific side of it. So let's see what is the main impacts on biodiversity research. What is the benefit of biodiversity research? Why do you do it? We want to see, until and unless you go to the field and study the real situation in the wild or in the forest, you cannot contribute much regarding the animals living there or regarding the state of the forest. So universities are not working. In the institutions also, biodiversity projects are not functioning properly. Some of them have been postponed. Field sites are inaccessible. Field work is actually affected. See, when you are planning a study, you will have the pre-monsoon observation, post-monsoon observation, and all these things have to be taken in the right time. You cannot postpone it forever. In the sense, this whole year, we don't know how much we will be fruitful or successful in bringing out that kind of observations and results. Research funds are also not much available. Some of the projects, some of the funding systems are still functioning, whereas in some systems, the fundings have been stopped temporarily. So without funding, the students also have started seeking alternate jobs. Sad affair, sad situation, but this is also an impact. Okay. The general side, I think we have discussed in detail. So now a little bit on the emerging zoonotic diseases. What are zoonotic diseases? They are diseases which humans get or from the animals, originated from animals, and they pass on to humans. In the recent, we know about Ebola, which happened in West Africa, killed several people. It is transmitted, it originated from bats, transmitted through primates also. SARS, we know, originated in China in 2002, 3 and all. Again, it was from bats and spread through civet cats. MERS in the Middle East, again, bats are the culprits. Through camels, it's spread, it's supposed to be. HIV, AIDS, you know, originated in primates, means monkeys. We all know about bird flu, swine flu, all these things, and how much problems all these cause to humans. Last couple of years, Nipah had its effect. The virus jumped off from bats to humans. In Kerala, the episodes happened. Usually, Nipah is affected in Philippines and Bangladesh. See, this is a very brief summary of the recent emerging zoonotic diseases. There are several other diseases, I've listed a few, I'm not reading it. So, among the 1,407 pathogens, human pathogens, 816 are zoonotics, means from animals, of which 208 are virus. So this is the gravity of the situation. So here we see the pictures of two animals which we are very much familiar. One is a bat, the other is a pangolin. Both the animals are in the news today. Though the origin of COVID-19 is really not very certain. There are huge criticism regarding the wildlife markets in China, and even the first incident also is reported from Wuhan, that market where wildlife meat, exotic meats are traded. So the habit of eating wild animals may have contributed to this particular disease. Some aspects are yet to be known. There are many unknowns in this COVID pandemic. So let's see some of the facts. It's adding to the gravity of the situation. 60% of all infectious disease are zoonotic, means they are originated from animals. 70% of the emerging infectious diseases come from wildlife. What does that mean? The remaining 30% are from farm animals. So that is the proportion. Next point, it is very interesting. 96% of the total mammal biomass on Earth are domesticated animals. Only 4% are wild animals, means which we keep. Domesticated mammals means which we keep with ourselves. We farm them for our own benefit, livelihood options. So the globally infectious disease account for almost 16% of all death globally, of which the low resource countries suffer about 43%, more than 43% of death. See the difference, 15.8% globally, but in the low resource countries, it is almost 4 times that particular rate. And next 2 points are interrelated. The number of infectious disease has become 4 times, quadrupled in the last 60 years. See, at the same time, the population size of wildlife has decreased 60% globally between 1970 and 2014. There is some interconnectivity between the last 2 points. There we have to give our attention. We are forced to give our attention in that interconnectivity, which we will be discussing now. This is also a fact. The 20th century deaths which happened is more due to the epidemics than from the world wars. The 2 world wars had happened, but more people died due to the epidemics, particularly the vector-borne diseases. Every year globally, 7 lakh people die from the vector-borne disease. Vector-borne diseases are also zoonotic diseases. Zoonotic diseases are spread either through direct contact, indirect contact, through consumption of food. Many sources are there for the transmission. And also through these vectors, means the dengue, malaria, yellow fever, all these come under vector-borne diseases. In India alone, 13 zoonotic diseases have resulted in the death of about 2.2 million deaths every year. So that is the seriousness of the, it is not something which we can ignore or which we can neglect. Changing landscapes. So these emerging infectious diseases, there is a connection, there is a linkage between these two changing landscapes and these diseases. Urbanization is taken as one of the main drivers, means it increases the interface between wildlife, livestock, as well as man. And the current levels of interhuman ecosystem interaction, the increased encroachment, the exploitation of natural resources, all these we need not explain, we all know about it. And the effects of all this coming out as climate change, what exactly is it happening? It is altering the habitat. When the habitat is altered, what happens? The species, both plants as well as animal assemblages, there also changes. Animals start migrating from unfavorable situations to their favorable places. So again, the rise in contact rates between the human and animals again promote the emergence of zoonotic diseases. The very interesting fact is that, see, these are the screenshots of two particular papers. They are not restricted to just two. There are several papers. One is published in 2018, the other is published in 2017. What does that mean? Much before the COVID pandemic happened. But they have warned in this particular paper that if the current situation continues, this kind of damaging effect of the human on natural environment happens, means we have to suffer, we will have to face pandemics or this emerging zoonotic diseases. See, very relevant, 100% accurate prediction they have made scientifically. So there is no surprise that the COVID has attacked us. It was all due to human actions, and there is no problem, there is no need to blame any others or any situations. Okay, so we already discussed bats are in the news. There are studies indicating that the origin of the SARS, CoV virus happened in bats. Okay, we have experience also in the past. The earlier SARS, that is SARS-CoV-1, and that is why this is named SARS-CoV-2. This is not the first time. An earlier virus was also there, which is that time it was proved that it came from bats. But currently was seen in the bats. Only a very similar strain, a very similar virus has been found. But that virus was there in the bats for the last 40 to 70 years. It has evolved that way. Maybe at one step, some mutation happened, and then all of a sudden it jumped from the bat host to a human host, or to the intermediate pangolin. Okay. How it happened, how the virus crossed from bat to human population is still not known. But the dangerous aspect here is that there are numerous undetected viruses which are capable of infecting humans, which are residing in animals. That is the issue of the zoonosis. Little bit on bats. See, why are these viruses which are common in bats so easily invading humans? There is a reason. Just like rats, bats too have adapted to human inhabitations. Why? Can you think of one of the reasons? See, if there was a healthy forest nearby once, or wilderness area once upon a time, so all the bats, many of the animals were restricted to that patches. In future, day by day, the cities are expanding, the trees are cut, so the wilderness areas have disappeared. So these animals have migrated to the human habitation. So when they finally started living among humans. So that is how we are finding that much number of bats even in the urban ecosystems in India. And there is one speciality regarding these bats. See, among the total mammal fauna of India, bats account to 30%. We have 127 species of bats, 94 subspecies, 41 genera, 9 families. Only 8 species are in the IUCN category, 1 critically endangered, 2 endangered, and 5 vulnerable. In the schedule 1, 2 species are there. All the rest are kept as vermins under schedule 5. This is the background. In the case of the SARS-CoV-1, which happened in 2002-2003, it was the fruit bats which were found the main culprits. They could get the same virus. They could isolate the virus from that particular fruit bat of horseshoe bat. Okay. In the world also, when you take the global level also, bats are the second largest order of mammals. So that much in number they are present. Species, that much of species they are present. And still, they belong to one of the least studied mammalian groups. We don't know much about their population. We don't know much about their behavior. So there are a lot of limitations when we enter into the topic of bats. And ecosystem wise, it is a well accepted fact that bats perform very important ecosystem services. See, they eat a lot of pests, insect pests, protecting our agriculture. They contribute to pollination. Several plants are pollinated by bats. And another very important function which they serve as, they are seed dispersals. Mainly forest, regarding the regeneration of forest, they have a big role because they are the only mammals which are capable of flying. And they are very powerful flyers. They cover a lot of distances at night from one forest patch to the other forest patch. They cover the open spaces very easily. So they defecate frequently. So they defecate the seeds of the fruits which they have eaten, and that will help in the regeneration of forests. Okay, so that is a very valuable ecosystem service. There is an appeal from the bat conservationists as well as the scientific world that even though people are now afraid of bats being carrier of many viruses, don't kill bats. Even the whole entire roofs are being burnt mercilessly in many places. Because keeping aside the ecosystem services also, yet, but in the context of the COVID, we have to retain bats because we have to learn a lot from them. See, in the bat's body, we know a lot of very harmful, dangerous viruses are coexisting, but still bats are not getting infected. How that particular mammal is surviving or able to be disease free even with this much load of virus, that is an ongoing study. The immunity system of bats, maybe there are several theories are there that their body temperature is very high, their metabolic rate is very high, their the protein system is different. Whatever it is, we have to learn a lot from them to develop our own antiviral defenses. Okay. So the other animal, which is very much on the news, it is pangolin. We have a total of 8 species of pangolin globally, and 2 species are there in India, the Indian pangolin and the Chinese pangolin. And it is one of the most illegally trafficked mammal, used both as food as well as in Chinese medicine. The scales are very much utilized. There was a study, particular during this COVID also, that they did some genetic sequences of this virome composition of seized pangolin, which were actually, they were illegally trafficked. So they did this test on the seized pangolins, and they found that 85 to 94% similarity of the COVID virus in man and the virus in the pangolin. So what does this indicate? The nearest relative of our virus is living in the pangolin, which indicates that from the pangolins only, maybe that, again, since it is not foolproof, it is all with a question mark. Maybe from pangolin only it entered humans. Pangolins are serving here as an intermediary species. Means from the bats, the virus entered pangolin. From there, it mutated and entered human beings, like the case of civets in the case of earlier SARS and the camel in the case of MERS. See, these are all ongoing studies. Another very important question. Now we are entering to the core things. We know COVID has happened. So how to prevent such outbreaks of zoonotic diseases, which are so much linked with biodiversity? It is not just invention of a vaccine. Okay, the vaccine can help you from this particular disease, but that is not the end of the issue. Any long-term response to COVID and the zoonotic diseases must think of something further, should look on the actual cause, tackle habitat loss. Means you should stop the relentless destruction and conversion of wildlife habitats to croplands as well as to cities, whatever. Stop the uncontrolled harvesting of wild species. There is no other alternative. We have to accept that nature is supreme, however smart the human beings are. See, unregulated live animal markets, increased livelihood interaction. We know now all these are the reason behind the emerging zoonotic diseases. We have to accept that. We cannot close our eyes. Biodiversity loss as such, lot of theoretical aspects we have read. See, I can tell you one thing. When I was in my schooling time, there was no word of climate change in any of the books. There was no issue of climate change at that time. Later, with the CBD coming in 1992, the concept of biodiversity, the need to protect biodiversity, conserve biodiversity, all this became very important. But all those were in theory. Now we are facing the real issues due to biodiversity loss as well as the climate change. Threat to food security, we all know how the service of the pollinators. If they disappear, what will happen? 35% of our crops are pollinated exclusively by these pollinators. If we lose them, we are losing those crops. See, as simple as that. Threat to health, of course, we are facing it since quite a lot, months at least. Next, very important aspect, 50% of our GDP is based on nature and its services, particularly this pollination, then clean water and the disease control ability of nature. 3 industries, construction industry, agriculture industry, then food and beverages. These 3 industries have their raw materials directly from nature. So anything happening to nature is bound to affect the industries and of course to the GDP, because 50% of GDP we are depending on nature. What does that mean? We have to protect our diverse biodiversity and nature. Of course, not going into much detail on the sustainable livelihood options. We already know about the fringe people living in the fringes of the forest who entirely depend upon the forest products for their livelihood options. Correctly, this 22nd May 2020, when they celebrated the International Day of Biological Diversity, the slogan was, "Our solutions are in nature." Of course, we cannot go anywhere else. We have to depend on nature. And that is widely accepted now by the scientific community. Biodiversity is lost at an unprecedented rate. UN Science Panel reports in the last 20 years, means from 1980 to 2000 itself, 100 million hectares of forested land was converted to agricultural land in the tropics alone. In the last
Sorry
50
to
years,
interrupt.
yeah, just 5 minutes.
Ma'am, yeah, okay, fine, thank you.
Okay. So in the last 50 years, the human population doubled and global economy was 4 times. Trade was 10 times. What does it mean? Population is on the rise and we need 1.6 Earth to meet the daily demands. Only 23% of the planet is still in a natural state. So little bit, we are running short of time. I'm not going into the detail. This is the easy way to remember the biodiversity loss, that first letter of all these issues, hippo represent. Fine. 1 or 2 important slides are there. This wildlife consumption and illegal wildlife trade, dangerously hygienic commercial market, then where this domestic and wildlife animals are mixed and kept together, then the traditional Chinese medicine also is very much on the rise. Wildlife trade also contributing to habitat destruction. We already discussed. When the illegal trades are happening, nobody is bothered about the sanitary standards and all. So all these are contributing to this spread of or emergence of zoonotic diseases. See, this is the situation. There was a ban in China for wildlife meat, but there are several important areas in China. For a long time, eating wildlife or consumption of wildlife as food is a part of their system, their culture. 57 billion people worth annual economy is dependent on wildlife trade. So it is not easy for them for a shift. And the ban is temporary or not, we have to see. The current ban is only on eating wildlife. Still the trade for medicinal purposes going on. There is no particular definition what is wildlife. So many gray areas are there. This initiative accepts by WHO One Health means, and we cannot separate animal health, human health and environmental health. Why I am including this here is that you will see this particular context in the coming post-2020 global biodiversity framework. Only the zero draft is done now because a lot of global meetings have been postponed. They are getting more time to work on this framework where One Health will be stressed, and the Vision 2050 will be living in harmony with nature. People will have to do transformational shift in their outlook according to this particular draft. And open science movement by UNESCO, where science has to be more transparent and helpful for the knowledge. See, with science only we came to know about COVID. Science is needed to know about nature. Everything we have to depend on science. So summarizing the whole aspect, how and why all this happened, this pandemic happened, man encroached the territory. It is not the other way. Cross-species spillover happening, though this is not very common. Human-wildlife interface is very high. Cities keeps on expanding. Wildlife trade, sale of exotic luxury meat, high rate of urbanization, natural green areas and patches should be included in the urban settings. All these are very important. COVID-19 is the pandemic of mistreated biodiversity. That is why it is so much important. The impact is that we are coming to know the ever increasing importance of biodiversity now. This pandemic is the result of an extremely wide environmental crisis. It has turned into an existential threat to humans. Vaccines are not the real solutions unless we prevent the happening. So what we can do? Nothing much. Give back nature its space. To get back the ecological stability, there is no other way. The potentially effective way only to reduce the outbreak is to respect nature and give the due acceptance. Reforestation, restoration, preservation, conservation, sustainable use. All these, though in the theory we saw, now we have to put into practice to save ourselves. There is a huge responsibility to the scientific community, including you and me. We have to talk loud now and explain to the public the long-term consequences versus short-term benefits, even in the environmental policies, which is often relaxed for political benefits and vested interest. Biodiversity is not a luxury. It is something not to look upon, not to enjoy. It is the very essential entity for the survival of humans. So we all think some smart people are going to develop some vaccine. Okay, it is effective for the present COVID-19 pandemic. But until and unless you prevent the next pandemic, which can always come, maybe within a couple of years, if the situation persists, the best vaccine is only some ways to protect nature and biodiversity. So we have to accept that it is the essential entity for the survival of mankind. We are taking a break, means our all activities are stopped. So let us use this time to study or to be more aware of all these things, and let us build back better. I conclude now. Thank you. Yeah, Dr. Vikas.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. We had seen how ma'am took us from the positive and the negative effects of this COVID-19 lockdown and its effect on the biodiversity. She started with the positive effects and how the animals, the biodiversity started encroaching our buildup because we were on the anthropos, contained in our homes. So they were reclaiming their territory. She also talked about how some animals have become so dependent on the human food that they were not able to survive, like monkeys, because they have the mynas. They have become so dependent on the human beings that it's very hard for them to survive. The wildlife trade also took a setback due to this lockdown, so it was good for the biodiversity. But the Chinese, they have again opened up the animal market. So again, we are inviting another pandemic for us. So she took us then to the zoonotic diseases, which is a very recent and emerging area of research, because we have to fight these zoonoses now. These viruses, they are attacking us again and again, and they can wipe out the whole human species. So we have to think that where we have done wrong. So she said that pandemics are coming ahead. So we have to find out the solutions in nature and living in harmony with nature, which is the motto to be achieved till 2050. So it was a very well prepared and a linked presentation by a keynote speaker. And we think the time was very less, so we have to stop her because we have another speaker waiting in it. And the question and answer, ma'am, we have compiled, and we'll be taking in the question and answer session at 2:15 p.m. So we'll need to join again. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Now I invite the co-organizing secretary of this webinar, Dr. Prakash, to invite the next and introduce and invite the next speaker.
Thanks, Vikas sir. Now, On behalf of Samrat Prithviraj Chauhan, Government College Ajmer, I would like to invite versatile personality Professor Upendra Nath Roy. I feel privileged to introduce Professor Roy. He is a professor in Department of Rural Development, NITTR, Chandigarh. He is an eminent researcher and excellent teacher, having more than 27 years of experience. In the list of their achievements, we can find 8 completed research and development projects. He published more than 5 books, 2 are in progress. He chaired more than 27 conferences as resource person. He materialized his deeds in form of more than 50 video programs, 30 modules for vocational courses, and course material for new courses like a diploma in climate change and sustainable development. Presently, Professor Roy is also coordinator of CDTR scheme for Northern Region, advisor and liaison officer for UP State, IGNU program coordinator RCI, member Board of Governance Motihar Engineering College, member BOS IIHS Himachal Pradesh University Simla, member BOS Rural Technology HNB University Srinagar, and many more. Not taking much time, I am inviting Professor Upendra Nath Roy, sir. Welcome, sir.
Hello. Dr. Upendra Nath is joining us. He will be adding a very different perspective to this webinar. He will be speaking on the human interaction, the rural development, because the main problem with biodiversity is why we are not able to co-sustain with biodiversity and the nature. So he'll be joining us. I'll ask just a gentle request to all the participants that you have to attempt a poll. A poll is running. So you have to attempt that poll so that we can see how much you have learned. नहीं है माथुरिया. Okay. So Upen sir is with us. Upen sir, you can start your. You can unmute and start. Upen sir, are you able to hear? Yes.
Yes, I am there.
So you have to unmute.
Okay, thank you. Are you able to listen me now?
Okay, sir.
Are you able to listen me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay. So very good afternoon to all of you. So there was an excellent presentation by Madam Raj Mohana, and like a biodiversity conservationist, I am working in quite a different field. So I am working here in the Department of Rural Development, and we are trying to mobilize the people to do a good job at the grassroots level. So one of my contributions in this site that we started organizing a group of organic farmers here, and we have motivated them to do something. And apart from that, we are working with a network of about 155 polytechnics in Northern India. So through that network, we are trying to mobilize the rural development activities. So many of the things will be coming for the better understanding of the people from the life sciences, because the agriculture, organic farming, horticulture, these are the areas of the rural development where the life scientist or the biologist can also contribute. So with this note, I am going to start my presentation. Unfortunately, I got connected with the name Madhurya Chris. There was in between there was a connectivity loss. So once I got connected, so automatically my son, that presentation, my son's name is coming there. So my dear friends, I'm going to present the role of life sciences and technologies for sustainable rural development. So let us see that what we can do, how the biologist or can contribute in this particular endeavor, and how we can motivate the group of the people or the villagers so that they can go on the right path, or the many times they are going on the right path. But as a scientist, we have to guide them again and again so that we can bring some major changes. So my dear friends, in this presentation, I would touch upon, first of all, what do we mean by transfer of technology? The scientists are working on it. So many of the things are developed in the labs, but it is not reaching to the people. Then we talk about concept of sustainable development, for which all the scientists are working. Then we have derived and defined the 10 areas of interventions. I will give the 10 areas of interventions where we can do some kind of things for the rural development. Then what are the technological options and the kind of case studies we have for the development of rural areas, for the conservation of nature, and how we are working in that, and what kind of experiment NITTR Chandigarh has done from this institution, what we have done for the society, that I will share. And finally, then I'll conclude. My dear friends, first of all, you have to understand that technologies need to be derived and developed by all the scientists. And for that, we are working. So we are playing our role to develop certain technologies in the labs. But unless it is transferred to the people, the benefits will not be reaching to the people. And for that, we have to work. So what are the purpose? Purpose is to develop technologies, but we have to extend to the people for the purpose so that we can increase the productivity and income of the people. And secondly, we have to improve the quality of life. And that quality of life includes everything, the nature, water, air, everything. So we have to work in both the direction, and we have to improve upon our economy. So long back, there was a scientist called, he was an economist by profession. His name was E.F. Schumacher. He studied the Indian part of economy also. He came to India in 1945-46 and visited some parts of the country. And he realized that only Western model of development will not help this part of the India. And he was quite influenced by some of the experiments which was done by the Gandhiji at that particular time in Wardha. And he got influenced. And after studying the whole aspect of economy in India, he gave an entirely different perspective. And he told that better the Indian people or the society, they should go for the appropriate technology without copying the Western model of development. And he wrote a book called Small is Beautiful. Most of the part was written near to Varanasi. There is a place called Rajghat. So he studied the Indian socio-economic activities, and he contributed and suggested the people of this part to follow the different kind of strategies so that large number of the people, they can develop their appropriate technologies and they can find their livelihood. My dear friends, if we see that in the last 70 years, what we have done, how we have gone, what we have done in past 70 years of our independence, that initially we focused on the socio-economic development for the first 30 years because we were lacking everything. The food grains were not available. So all the leaders and prime ministers and scientists, they were bothered about the production of food grains. So initial focus was given to the green revolution, and simultaneously infrastructure development like we constructed number of dams in the country. That's how the green revolution got actualized in certain parts of the country, like in Punjab and Haryana, this Bhakra Nangal project, and even northern part of Rajasthan, they got benefited and the green revolution was actualized. But after that, so this was the two important activities which were going on, like industrialization in certain parts. We started certain industries, then construction of dams, and then agriculture development. So first 30 years we devoted in that, and we tried to develop such infrastructure. And at least in food grain production, we achieved the target through the Green Revolution movement. But with the Green Revolution, as you know, the many unwanted things also came to us, and we are still struggling with that. So although the food grains are there, a lot of food grains quantity is not a problem, but the quality or the nutritional value of the food grains is a major challenge. After that, in 72, the first Earth Summit took place on the issues of petroleum prices. All of a sudden, petroleum price increased. And after that, every 10 years, we are having, that is Earth Summit. And 72 onwards, the Indian government also took initiatives like Ministry of Forest was created, Ministry of Environment was created later on. And we started talking on environment friendly issues. And 1987 onwards, then we talked about the sustainable development. And now we are talking about the climate change and sustainable development issues. So all the scientists focus on such issues. The story of sustainable development is known to all of you. And only thing is that we have to focus on three things. We have to protect the Mother Earth. We have to provide everything to the present generation, but not at the cost of the future generation. And this whole debate was led by a great leader like G.H. Brundtland, and she was the Prime Minister of Norway. And the major issues which were discussed in this framework of sustainable development: how to tackle the population issue, how to tackle the food security, how to tackle the loss of species and genetic resources, then how to consider and work on energy, industry, and human settlements. So these were the issues on which the whole sustainable development framework was made, and the leader behind it whole initiative, it was led by the Prime Minister of Norway. She contributed a lot, and later on in 1998, she became the Director General of WHO also. So many a time, many proactive leaders, they contribute at the national or international level. We have to recognize their contribution. My dear friends, here at NITTTR Chandigarh National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research, Chandigarh, this is an institution for the technical teachers. The polytechnic and engineering colleges teachers come to us, and we are working with them. We are training them vocational. We are providing them refresher courses, or the FDP programs are being run, faculty development program. And apart from that, we are connected to 155 polytechnics, and through them, we are working for the rural development activities. And other activities which are running in the institute is MTech and PhD program in conventional engineering areas. My dear friends, way back in 78, 79, this institution was engaged in one important activities, was named as Community Development Program through the Polytechnic system. And we are working this Polytechnic system for manpower development, for transfer of technologies, and from the technical services provided by these people, group of the teachers and trainees which are working there, and dissemination of information. These are the things which are the things we follow here. And we have a network of 500 polytechnics in the country, which is working through the community polytechnic scheme, and presently known as community development through polytechnic. So we are reaching to the masses through this scheme of Government of India, and we are helping the people through polytechnic system. My dear friends, for all of you, we have identified 10 areas of interventions, and in these 10 areas we are working. Maybe few of them I will explaining, and other I will omit, because these are the 10 areas. If we work in a systematic manner, then we can help the rural people for the sustainable development point of view. Area number 1 is sanitation. Area number 2 is drinking water. Then water pollution may be checked in the rural, even in urban areas. Then water resources management or the natural resource management through the watershed approach, that is important. Then we are working on the soil health management so that we can improve the fertility. And in agriculture sector, we are helping through the agriculture universities and through our interventions. Then forestry and herbal products, we are trying to mobilize the people so that they can extract it for their own purpose, and some value addition is done so that they can utilize for better livelihood and economy. And rural housing, the low cost system may be created, which may be earthquake resistance or something in that direction. And maybe renewable energy and IT applications. So these are the 10 areas which we are promoting through our system. But here for the today's presentation, I will be taking few of them so that what the polytechnic system is doing. Before that, my dear friends, many of the students and many of the young teachers are there. For them, I would suggest that any project which they take for this development of any areas in these projects, we have to think about 4 or 5 important parameters. What we do, the environmental impact assessment, but in a major way, we have to consider how it is going to be, how it is going to benefit the local people, and project must be socially acceptable. How it is going to help the people, economically feasible it should be. Technically practical means geographically right kind of technology should be identified and they should be only transferred, otherwise many a time technology fails. Environmentally sound, we have to check the parameters, it has less and less pollution and we can provide better service to the nature. And the most important thing, we have to take care of the natural hazards. Many a time we have flood, sometimes we have earthquake, we have a cyclone. So we have to take care wherever we are doing projects, it must be taking care of DRR, disaster risk reduction. Suppose we are working in Odisha and constructing a school building, so we have to take care whether this building will resist the cyclones or such kind of a situation or not, or even flood. So we have to construct the building or orientation of the building in such a way that it should resist the particular or even decrease the risk of the disaster. So these are the important parameters on which we have to work, and we are working and we are helping the people. But one important slogan is always there for working with the local people is that we have to think globally, but we have to act locally. So at local level, how we can conserve biodiversity, how we can do the projects. So we have to engage the people, then only we'll be successful. So in the various 10 areas, we have developed certain technologies, and I will not give you the detail here, but I will focus on these technologies where the life sciences or the people from biology can contribute. My dear friends, this is a system developed by the polytechnic people, that how to dispose the gray water. Gray water is coming from the bathroom and from the kitchen. This gray water may be recycled, otherwise it's getting collected, and collected water near to the water source, it becoming the source for the mosquito breeding and the pathogens breeding. So we have to protect the people, and near to their hand pump or the water source, they can create maybe 20-30 feet away a kind of a wastewater disposal system. It may be created by some civil engineering mechanism. It's a small construction is done, and for the filter, we use different aggregates like the brick bats, like stone chips, etc. So we can filter it and we can provide the solution to the farmer, to the villager. Similarly, for the human waste, as you know, they carry the major pathogens. So we have to provide such a kind of a toilet which can help the people. If the toilet may be connected with the biogas plants, it is a better option. Why? Because both the things may be digested for a particular period, and after that it can be released. As you know, that there is a retention period to digest any kind of a biomass. And if the biogas is being used, so what we are doing, we are digesting it for particular purpose, and after that we can easily or safely we can use the gas, as well as in return we are getting a slurry. So these toilets may be constructed of different models. In Himachal Pradesh, we have experimented with the low-cost toilets, where the thousands of such toilets have been constructed and installed to the local people. Similarly, we can try for the septic tank. But I would suggest in the northern plain, they should not go for the construction of the toilets and bathroom together, because both the water, if it is mixed together, ultimately some of the water will go down to the hand pump. And when the hand pump is narrow in the northern plain, where the water availability is maybe 50 or 60 feet, it may contaminate it, may contaminate the water source. So better options, construct both the things separately in the northern plains, but in the dry areas where the water table is more than 100 feet, we can try it together. That may be not a problem. But in the shallow tube well and hand pump, we must not try this. But in promoting sanitation is a social issue also. So we have to change the mindset, and that's why various kind of IC campaign, that what we call information education campaign, is being launched by the government of India. And we have to motivate the women, we have to motivate the rural people so that they can go for toilets construction and utilize it purposefully. Otherwise, construction is done as a term called Ijjat Ghar in Uttar Pradesh or even in Bihar, because women are most affected. That's why the name has been given to the toilet is called Ijjat Ghar. Means you can save your pride so that the women and the women folk do not go outside for defecation. So we have to motivate so that utility of that toilet or the uses may increase among them. It changes the mindset of the people. So in sanitation field itself, there is agricultural residues, and we need to recycle through the various mechanisms. Here the life sciences people can work out. Already there are some mechanisms like the vermiculture, which is helping in converting the biomass into compost. Cow dung and other kind of agriculture waste may be converted into the compost. Second way that we can go for the biogas plants, and other techniques are some of the mechanical engineering people, they have developed some kind of a briquettes making machine. So the agricultural residues may be pulverized and the briquettes are made, and it is being used for the energy or the energy generation, power generation in the boilers. So they are the people in the polytechnics, and from they are transferring these ideas to the people, and we are working with the teachers, and these teachers go to the villages, and through them we try to propagate this knowledge. Second issue is related to drinking water, which is a major problem throughout the country. About 1.5 lakhs of the villages in our country, they still lack good quality water. Somewhere we find fluoride, somewhere find arsenic, somewhere other issues. But we have to think and work on rainwater harvesting system, because that is the purest form of water is coming to us, and then through the surface various minerals mix with the water, then the water becomes potable. Means we have to take that kind of a quality water which is coming from the surface or from the subsurface, because the minerals are only we can get from the surface water. In the rainwater there are no minerals. So some kind of a mechanism we have to follow, and we have to deal with three kind of problems. Here also the geologist can help us, that physical impurities may be filtered out with any kind of a filter or the candle which you use. Biological infestation is the biggest problem, or they cause major they may cause major diseases, and they carry the pathogens. So biological infestations, what to do, and the chemical contamination, what we can do. If the water is brackish, if it is contaminated with some kind of a metals, some kind of a heavy metals, then what we can do. For physical impurities, simple method is that you can clean it and the dirt goes out, and even you can use alum to treat the water. The water is all right. But if they are the pathogens of a jaundice, typhoid, then what we have to do? There is no other option. You have to boil the water, then only you can kill the bacteria or the virus, and then you can take it. So the first, for the physical, you have the simple method. For biological, there is no other way. So you have to boil the water, but again and again, you have to test the water so that you can find out there are no contamination. And for the third thing, heavy metals or the saline water, what you have to do, there is no other way. You have to go for the distillation process. In the coastal area, we have the solar distillation. And this is the distillation unit which is being developed by IIT Delhi. We are working with them so that we can transfer such things in different corners. So if this costing about 3 lakhs of rupees. We have installed one such plant in Jodhpur, and Jodhpur, as you know, the groundwater is very turbidity is very high and it is not potable. So how we can treat in a systematic way, and the distilled water what we get, we can use it after adding some minerals. But we'll get a distilled water which is free from any minerals, because you are extracting all the impurities. That's how the distilled water you are getting. The same thing is happening with your purifier also. During the process, whatever we are getting, along with treating the water, it is also extracting the minerals, and that is the bad part. And second thing, a reject water is also very high. Like out of 5 liters, 4 liters is being rejected, only 1 liter is given to you. So my dear friends, options are limited, and we have to collect the water. We have to go for rainwater harvesting and also such kind of mechanism. In water pollution also, we have found out this is the treatment from the industrial side, how to treat. You have to go for ETP. But we found some biological methods, and on this biological method we have worked, and this method is known as a phytoremediation. As you know, the plants are helpful in treating the water because the plant can extract the nutrients which are harmful in their body, but in return the water quality may improve. So one of these technologies were used like duckweed. What may be the biological name you can find out, but the duckweed is working perfectly well in the ponds of the northern India. Some experiment has been done in Punjab by us. And second experiment which we did 5 years back, it was using the Canna indica, a plant, and through that we tried to treat the dirty water of a pond in a village in Punjab. And we got some kind of a success. The BOD and COD, these are the two negative indicators which we tried to control. So it was reduced after the water analysis which we did. And the DO, what we call dissolved oxygen, the amount of dissolved oxygen found increased when we launched about 30 to 40 such rafts in a pond. So we did this experiment. And here also, we did such experiment at our institute, where we try to treat the water, the gray water, and with the help of this filter medium and through the tank, and above that in this tank, along with this filter medium, we also planted the plant called Canna indica. And we treated this water with the filter medium, and finally we collected into the tank a very clean water. We got it, and it may be now used for irrigation. So the dirty water coming from the domestic water coming from the villages, we can treat it through this system, and we can finally use it for the irrigation purpose. So we have to find out the mechanism to treat a lot of dirty water or the gray, even sewage water coming from the villages. And what is the technology here? They have been termed as rhizofiltration. As you know, the rhizo means roots, and that these roots are working very well for the treatment of the water, dirty water. So that water or all the contamination is being taken by this plant, and it is going to the plant body, and ultimately the water gets clean. So number of such float were deployed by us. About 30 to 40 such floating rafts were designed by us, and on which what we did, we floated the plants along with that. So we created this structure with the help of a hollow pipe, and later on we deployed in a pond, and we did the water analysis for about 6 to 9 months. And through this study, we found that they are the very sturdy plant, and they can help us in making a new wetland or the phytoremediation bed, so that we can treat the dirty water, particularly the sewage water. And it has been tried in the Namami Gange project by some of the teachers or some of the scientists, like Professor Nadeem from Aligarh Muslim University. It is a low-cost biological measures for the treatment of dirty water. Another treatment which was developed by a person called Mr. Sant Balbir Singh Sichewal in a village called Sichewal, and this person is known as the Green Ambassador for Punjab. So he's trying this method in many of such ponds in the villages of Punjab, and even he has cleaned one river called Kali Bay River, which was a very important river for the Sikh religion, because the Baba Nanak once upon a time, maybe 500 years back, before going to Kartarpur, he took a dip in that particular river, and that Kali Bay River, up to 2000, it was totally disappeared. In 2004, this man tried to clean that river, and it was already converted into kind of a nala, and he cleaned all the river with the help of a group of volunteers. So this was a big achievement. So in 2006 and 7, even Dr. Kalam visited that place, and he was rewarded for it. So such experiment he is trying to do in his village to treat the dirty water, and he has developed some kind of a mechanism. So in future, we are planning to include both the phytoremediation and this technique together, so that we can transfer these technologies in the villages. My dear friends, the major work which has been done in the rural development sector comes through this mechanism, what we call integrated watershed management or integrated natural resource management. Through this mechanism, many of the villages have been developed, and they are going on the very right track of sustainable development. So this whole area of watershed is being divided through the catchment area. But we are talking here about the mini watershed, micro watershed, and milli watershed from the villages' point of view, where the villages join hands together and they can create some kind of a structure. They can collect the water, they can protect the forest, they can protect the wildlife. And this is the milli and micro watershed. With the help of people, we can mobilize we can utilize the natural resources in a systematic manner, so we can protect the nature and we can earn better livelihood. So what we do here, we try to conserve the water, we go for soil erosion check, we go for decrease the runoff, so that we can increase the productivity of a whole area, and then we can protect the natural resources. And in totality, basically, we are going to maintain the ecosystem, then only everything will be working in connectivity. And it is done through the people's participation. I will give only 1 or 2 line case studies, so that we cannot go in detail for these case studies. They are available. In northern part of India, we had a Sukho Majri project, which was started in 78, 79. And the leader for that project was Mr. P.R. Misra, and a villager called Jethuram, who started this project in a village called Sukho Majri, where it was done for saving the Sukna Lake of Chandigarh city. And in order to save the Sukna Lake, the Sukho Majri project came in between, because Sukna had a catchment area of 4,200 hectares. And in the top of the hills, there was a village called Sukho Majri, where there were 50 Gujars households. They used to depend on the grazing, and each of the household had at least 20 to 30 goats, or maybe about 10 to 15 cows. So more population of cows and herd than the people. So 50 households, maybe more than 1,000 cattle head, but number of people maybe about 300. So these people used to graze in the forest area, which was coming in the catchment area of that is Sukna Lake. And the artificial lake was getting filled up due to the sedimentation. A lot of soil erosion used to take place. As you know, the Siwalik is made, they are the sedimentary rocks. So whenever there is a rain, there is a lot of sediment coming there. So in order to protect the Sukna Lake, this area was developed, and the villagers and the project official joined hand together, and they decided not to graze the animals there. And gradually, the animals were sold by the farmers when they got 2 to 3 earthen dams, which was constructed by the project officials. This was the demand kept by the villagers. If you construct some irrigation system for us, then we will give up this goatry occupation. And they gave up, and gradually this whole village got developed by 1985, and the villagers got a very good response. So this became the model village in northern India from the micro watershed intervention kind of a thing. Similarly, in 78, 79, Ralegaon Siddhi experiment was done by a retired driver from army, and his name was Mr. Anna Hazare. He returned back to his village and he found many bad things in the village, and he organized the people. And the first and foremost thing which he did, for which he is known today, it was a watershed management activity. He dug a channel of 3-kilometer channels by voluntarily. He organized all the youth and women together, and he dug that channel, and he became famous because the water came to his village, and that water was utilized effectively by this man, and he became a waterman for India. And he became also later on one of the members of the planning commission to guide for the micro watershed intervention. In this series, most of you are from Rajasthan. Rajendra Singh experiment was unique in nature because such experiment was replicated in about 400 to 500 villages. And by renovating the johars and constructing the earthen dams, this man tried to mobilize more and more people in 400 to 500 villages. And as a result, 2-3 seasonal rivers, they became perennial. So this was a unique experiment. And that's why this man got Raman Magsaysay Award for reviving few rivers like Arwari or some Jahajwali Nadi. This was revived by him. And now there is a water for at least 8 to 10 months, which was only available for 2-3 months. So this Alwar experiment was an unique in nature. So we have to learn from these grassroots leaders, and we have to further increase the potential through this group of the people. My dear friends, in this series, I interacted with another person. His name is Norfel Chewang. I've been invited here in 2010-11. He is trying to protect the glaciers, and on his path, it is being further taken by Sonam Wangchu, who is doing some unique experiment in Leh Ladakh region to protect the glaciers, to protect the traditional architecture, and to protect the culture of Leh and Ladakh. So we have to learn from such leaders. And in this series, we got interacted with another leader. His name is Jagat Singh Jangli, and he is not less than any of the botanists these days. He has a knowledge of many plants, and in his model of a mixed forest, which he has created in about 3 to 5 hectares of land in his village, he started this journey in 72-73, and he has planted over 1 lakh trees and different kind of plants in his mixed forest. And such a nice experiment. So whole of the years he has devoted, last 45 years, he has devoted in this activity, and he has developed a new model, and he is trying to propagate this model of mixed forest throughout the Himalayas, because the monoculture like the pine trees or any other trees, they are not good, particularly in adverse conditions. Suppose there is a forest fire, for the protection of wildlife and for the protection of various biodiversity. So that's why he had developed a mixed forest. So you can get the link of Mr. Jagat Singh, and we are inviting him for again and again. He is a kind of a guest speaker for all of us. So my dear friends, through these all grassroots leaders, we are trying to mobilize our teachers, and we are also talking about the protection of this artificial, what we call streams, which are flowing in the upper Himalayas. Then rainwater harvesting techniques is being followed by you. Under the soil health management, we are propagating biofertilizer, composting techniques, and basically we are promoting organic farming. And in this direction, what we did. In 2015, we started a small market in our campus. Is a Professor MP Punia. He comes from Ganganagar district of Rajasthan. He was the director, and we started a journey, opened a market for the farmers. Initially, 4 or 5 farmers came to the first meeting. Why I did this experiment, there is a small story behind it. Throughout the year, just you are organizing this webinar, right from the 2001 onwards, I have been organizing number of seminars where we invite number of environmentalists, planning commission members, the leaders, and all group of the people. And one group is the farmers. And we're trying to find out the solutions for the sustainable development. And for that purpose, we have organized number of such series of such seminars. And the farmers, like this is Rajkumari Devi, she is the organic farmer. This year she got Padam Shri. Similarly, in 2015, we had a big convention here in which we invited about 2,200 farmers from all corners of the country for debating the issues of organic farming. But my dear friends, first day, the Chief Minister of Haryana came, Manohar Lal Khattar. Second day, the Governor came from Haryana. Third day, the Chief Minister of Punjab came, and we organized this event with a group of NGOs. But what we found, these NGOs were more busy in pump and sow. We provided this platform and we wanted to do something good for the farmers, but the farmers' issues were missing. They were only celebrating the big dignitaries. First day, one chief minister, second day, governor, third day, another chief minister. All of the energy was consumed in that. And I became very, very angry on this. And this was a very different experiment. And that's why I thought these workshops and conferences will not solve any purpose. So let us do something for the farmers. And then only with that pain, we started an action research that can we do something for the farmers? And we organized this market. This is a weekly market is being organized here at Chandigarh, and it is running successfully in Chandigarh. In COVID period, there is a limit, only few farmers are coming, but it is working very well. And this market picked up. Initial first and second year, we had some kind of a problem, but third year onwards, it picked up very well. The first year, what the farmers used to get about 6,000 to 7,000 of rupees in a month from 4 markets, means 1,500 to 2,000 rupees from the market. 5 to 6 farmers initial days, maybe the 10 up to 2016. Yes, but after that, so after
sir,
that, yes, please.
Sum up, sir. Sir, please sum up. We are running short of time, sir.
Right. So I can understand that. So, okay, friends. So this experiment was done, and now the farmers it got stabilized, and they are earning about 30,000 of rupees a month through these 4 markets. So this was an experiment I wanted to share with all of you, and number of farmers got benefited out of it. And this is all being managed by a group of farmers and consumers. Now our institute has withdrawn. In spite of that, this experiment is going on, and we are working with that group of the people. Similarly, we have to find out certain mechanisms. This activity is also picking up where the life sciences people can help us. And this is picking up very well in Punjab and Haryana. Number of farmers are benefited out of it. Similarly, if the organic tulsi is being used by this Organic India Limited, so that herbal and such things may be utilized by us. So we have to talk about it. So I will leave other things here, but ultimately we have to achieve certain targets. Like these iconic people, they have achieved certain targets in their life. So I also think now he has also started working in this organic farming. He has developed already a brand in Ranchi. In 43 acres of land, he has started organic farming and organic milk production. So my dear friends, here I will take 1 minute. This is the last slide, that we have to promote a village-centered rainbow revolution in which ecological conservation or biodiversity conservation is an important thing. And we have to contribute to the society in a organic way, green revolution. Similarly, the white revolution where the desi cows may be preferred, like as you know, the Brazil has taken our genetic resource, and they have developed a cow called Brahman breed, and they are extracting about 50 liters of milk on an average. Similarly, we have to go for blue revolution, and there we have to add the natural things like sweet revolution and yellow revolution. So this is the model which I wanted to present to all of you that एक ग्राम केंद्रित इंद्रधनुषीय क्रांति लाने की आवश्यकता है और नेचर को हमें हमेशा रिस्पेक्ट करना है. So this I took somewhere from the Rajasthan, but you have to find out from which part it was taken. So my dear friends, this is all from my side. Thank you very much for providing me such a great opportunity, and thank you all of you for the patient listening.
Thank you, Professor Roy, for such informative talk. Now, I welcome Dr. Daulal Bohra. He works on vulture conservation, particularly birds' mortality issues along migratory routes across Central Asia. He is all too familiar with the repercussions that veterinary may have upon gyps, vultures, steppies, eagles, and other vulnerable species, and adjoin with conservation projects based on UNEP, IUCN migratory species, particularly in the field of poisoning prevention. Dr. Bohra now works as Head of Department, PG Department of Zoology, SADS Podar College, and runs a UGC minor research project in Bates Biodiversity in Central Rajasthan. I welcome you, sir.
Sorry to interrupt. Professor Upendranath Roy, we had a very informative session with you, and thank you for that because you moved the topic from biodiversity to ecological restoration, and that was a very important part of this webinar. So thanks a lot, and we have gained a lot from your expertise. We started a poll also as per as the details given by you. The poll results are out, and are they visible to you? The poll results? Okay.
Anyway, you can
so thank you, sir. We'll be connecting with you in the question answer session again.
Right.
And I invite Dr. Daulal Bohra and to start his presentation.
Good afternoon to all. Thanks, Principal Sir and Dr. Vikas Saxenaji to provide such a great opportunity regarding that in participant to biodiversity and the conservation and all that. Basically, I'm very honest say is a very excellent previous two lecture by the Raj Mohan ma'am and Dr. Upendraji. But today I discuss with a small and very big, not a small but a very crucial issues about birds and birds mortality and all that. Meanwhile, as ma'am asked that, our nature are indicating a lot of things towards to our scenario to like that our management and all things. But just wait a minute. So nature are indicating to us a lot of things what happened. So today we discuss about mortalities. Mass mortalities issues in winter migratory birds in Sambar Lake. Why I'm discussing on there, because now we are all facing on COVID issues today. But yes, we also remember that before that COVID, a natural is happen in our Rajasthan. Basically, we have discussed about sambar. We have talked about the sambar contents. So sambar is a major ecological part of our Rajasthan, including of Nagaur, Jaipur, and Ajmer district. So it's a cover of around 240 square kilometer area, and this is the largest inland saline wetland areas. And all were known as the Sambar is a very beautiful area, beautiful place in regarding to our migratory birds and Central Asia flyways and all things. But if we have think about the management and the issues or the problems with the migratory birds and the contents, so we have discussed about the management. In the Sambar with a legal bore valve, so produce around 2.5 lakh ton salt in a year. But by the private firms producing around 50 to 20 lakhs ton and per year. We have discussed about the ancient values of Sambar. From the Mahabharata, they have also mention of the particular Sambar values and Sambar things. But if we have discussed about the our biological point of view, so the Ramsar wetland site in the West India, so largest covered area, and they are declared by the UN in 20th March 19. And in the previous one, Keoladeo National Park are also declared around the cover areas 28.73 square kilometer area. Today we have discussed, today you have see where is the Keoladeo National Park and where is the Sambar. So it's a very unfortunately discussing on that Sambar is reducing that things. This is the site location of Sambar. In particular, this different areas of Sambar. They are the government encroachment area in the Shahid Bhagat Singh salt pan and the Sambar salt lake. All things are having a good a management things. In this slide, I saw that the conditions where the mass mortalities happen and the first reporting in the particular in Chapok area. This is some birds species in the migratory and residential species in the Sambar. Look, have a very important bird species come from the Central Asia flyway, from the Russia and from the Mongolia and China and Iran and all things. This is again a lot of important species, red neck raps and Indian tern and greater Pentat district. And all species is come from the Eurasian part of that. Today we discuss about the mortality issues. In Sambar, from the 9th November 2019 to 7th January 2020, around approximately 75,000 birds is mortal, and by the agencies estimated around 22,976 birds, aquatic migrant birds, have been found in Sambar Lake. In November, near Jabok area, around 30 species, majorly the shoveler, pentel, and duck, common tal, and the godwheel and gull, the plover. All species are affected in major concept of the conditions in the development. About from the government of Rajasthan and about 736 sick birds were treated by the department, and 368 is survived. According to WTI database, around 1,293 ailing birds are admitted, and 30 different species and 514 recovered by the release. I'm sharing one important data from this slide. In total death, around 22,976 is estimated for the animal husbandry. Percentage is only that 5.63% just, and survival rate is less than 1%. And if we have discussed about the approximately mortality data, around less than 1% is rescue, and survival rate is again is very reduced one. We have discussed about the episode when the Sambar mortality contents is continuous from the 7th of November, and first time in 11th November, 716 birds and died, and in the same the birds is motile, very huge number, is 5,600 around. We have discussed about the cause of mortality. According to IVRI and according to government, So avian botulism is the main cause of death of all kind of birds, according to agencies, due to serious neuromuscular illness and causes by toxin production by the bacterium. Significance is that dullness and depression and anoxia and paralysis in the leg. Among this mass mortality of birds, avian botulism theory very big questions. If maggot carcass, various cycles is went to kill thousands of migratory birds in summer as a winter over the period of time reduce, salinity of water lake once again increase and crustacean, invertebrate and planktonic is died. So it's a very important issue. Simultaneously is one of another incidents has happened in Iran. So IVI report is death is reported of insect only. So this is no death among the herbivorous birds, including flamingo also. So, but in same after 1 month of our Sambar tragedy, Iran Veterinary Organization (IVO) declared the cause of death over 8,000 migratory birds, mostly flamingo, in Peninsula, avian botulism spread feeding the infected maggots. So, two different international agencies like the IVRI India and the second one is that IVO Iran. So is a confirmed same type of mortality cause of birds, the same Central Asia flyway. So most important things, two different places and same mortality contents is a different user theories. If we have think about virus theories overview about that non-human infection by the domestic and wild birds of novel genomes may be presumptive cause of death of migratory birds. Different viral subtype of avian influenza could have been entertained by the Central Asia flyway. Eastern Asia flyway and Eastern East African flyway. So all of flyways have show a good number of contents like the 16 November 2018 to 15 Feb 2019, China and Vietnam described the epidemic of zoonotic residing of HPAI virus H5N6 on the marketable poultry units. And the January 2019, Namibia has the outbreak also H5H8. So we have discussed those things because in the Pakistan informed to OIE server detection of HPAIN, H5 and 8 in some common birds and crow. And is the most important things. This is the again cause of mortality in Sambar Lake. We have jumped one another issues. This is the presumptive and this is the very pointable management concept. The electric reasons. I'm showing three of different pictures in the salt pane near the Nava. The village of Nava kept select according to where they have leakage of current. So electricity from the star fan to leak water to create electromagnetic zone. So probably when this year, from last year, when the rain is heavy, so electricity is a measure may be possible because here around 2200, around 2200 illegal water pump sets is there. So this is the presence of open electric pumps have a cause of death of birds. So thousands of people have illegal installed pump and sets of lake of drained water of basin. So this 2019 is a good rainfall. So maybe the electromagnetic field may be resulting to death of migratory birds. So this is not a single concept because government also tried to removing such thing to moving such illegal power sets and electric connections. But some approachable person is also. And I'm showing such information with this slide because our department, our government confirmed to botulism in front of some big boss to yes, this is the. I'm raising some of questions in front of you. with regarding to Sambar Lake. Bacteria as poisoning not effective to humans is a this is a possible. They have come back. They have come back. And how much industrial waste daily added in the salt lake? Which type of industries is there? And if the birds is death is paralysis is happening of life of dead birds, and yes, okay, this is again one presumptive. If the viral infection is responsible, like is that our corona and all things, so why does not sending the sample of HPAI to multi-virus stage information to aboard for the confirmation of migratory birds? So I'm sharing those things. Why the central government not implement the environment report of Sambar Salt Lake? Because the legal ownership of Sambar Lake under the Revenue Department. So this is the major contents of Sambar Lake management and all things. But one more important a point we have dropped it from last year's, why government goes with metagenomic analysis. If we go with metagenomic analysis, so we confirm the main cause of death in the Sambar Lake, and we have prepared for next year, because if we have discussed to next perspective, what is the next step by the government, by the forest department? Nothing, because if the botulism only for birds, if the botulism is there, spores there, so this is a very unethical for human also. We take also. So this is a very panic condition, because poison also there. So we think we need to manage all things. So what we need to long-term monitoring and management plan for livelihood development, because around 5 to 10,000 people are depending on salt pane and salt development, and establish international biodiversity heritage site for the mismanagement and building as a cause of mortality of migratory birds. We parasize the Indian government ban of illegal salt extraction to protect Ramsar site with implementation of international wetlands legislation. And another that the deliberate of such corrections, we again face such threats for the migratory birds, also potential risk for the human health. So thank you for all of them to listen with that this slide and this important issues in front of that, and thank you for that. Yes, because
hello, Daulal sir. So we had discussed we started a poll.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing the result. Are you able to see the poll result?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we asked the participant, what's the main cause of mortality of migratory birds at Sambar? These are the results. Would you like to say something about it?
Yeah, this is a good result.
So your mic is muted.
Avian botulism is declared by the. Yeah. Hello.
I suppose Daulal sir is not able to connect with us. He's not audible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we had 3 important sessions today. I'm not taking much time to summarize. We are starting the question and answer session straight because we are getting late. So we got some questions from the participants, and I'll be sharing this question with the experts. The experts are with us for the question. Varsha Patel. She asked a question. I'm a third year student of BSc Environment Science. Want to ask that what impacts of COVID on the conservation of threatened species have been observed and are anticipated?
Actually, the shortfall of the management practices has increased the poaching. So that is the direct impact. Means poaching means always the endangered fauna like tigers and all these are means mostly affected. So that is the direct impact. They are under threat.
Okay.
Their population is under more threat.
The participants can start their videos. I want to see how many people are attending it or they have left the phone just like that. Can we have all the videos on? Okay, thank you. Okay, so people are attending. It's good to see that you people are attending. Okay, so we'll go to the next question. The next question is it's from Parul Bhatnagar, and she asked how MERS, MERS is spread by bats through camel. If you can explain.
Yeah, because bats are mostly this particular bats, fruit-eating bats, and they chew and just discard the remaining matter. This sequence was currently very accurately recorded in the case of Nipah. So the same thing would have happened because though the exact thing is not scientifically that much said, it reached the camels, and that way there was some advisory not to use non-pasteurized milk of camels also. So that way from the bat through camels through to humans it can reach.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Then there's a question from Dev Prasad Sen Gupta. The question is, we all know about the mass death of Saiga antelope in Kazakhstan. What's a very different question. During 2015 caused by Pasteurella multocida. Is it possible that it might affect human being? What steps are taken to control P. multocida infection in other animals associated with Saiga?
See, as far
It's a
as
question
I know,
related to Raj Mora ma'am.
yeah, as far as I know, this bacterium, that strain, it is not confined to antelopes. It is seen in even domestic animals, pets like dogs and cats. So their scratches, the scratch by a dog, scratch by a cat can also infect human with this particular disease, but it doesn't rise to that epidemic level. Only that particular person is affected, and mostly he is treated and it is cured. It can lead to death also. There are instances, but never rising to the epidemic level.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. There is a question for Upen sir, and it's asked by a faculty, Dr. Renu Punia. She's asking, norms of water utilization is issued by which agency? You give some norms, sir, that so she's asking.
So yeah, norms of water utilizations per capita, at least the 40 liter has been assigned by Ministry of Water Resources. Earlier it was known as Rajiv Gandhi Drinking Water Mission. Now it has been named as Jal Shakti Mission. So they have assigned, they have given this kind of a norm. In the remote areas, even 30 liter water per capita per day, but on an average 40 liter for all the people. But in the cities like Chandigarh, when we plan for the water supply, it goes up to 200 liter per capita per day, looking into the projection of population which is likely to increase.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Another question for Upen sir, asked by Sanjana Sharma. What should be the priorities in areas of intervention? You gave some 10 areas of intervention, sir. She's asking, what should be the priorities?
Priorities you have to decide. You have to expertise yourselves in certain areas. The jack of all is not working. So you have to be master of few. So at least you have to select few areas where you are interested to work and you can go for interventions. I have given you that area as a researcher, and we have found that these are the areas. But as a scientist, as a manager, you have to find out and develop your expertise in one or two areas. There you can contribute. Then areas are suggestive.
Okay, thank you, sir. Uh, uh, Dr. Daulal Bora, this is a question from my side. So,
Yeah.
do you agree with the report which was given by the government that Sambar Lake death misery was due to the botulism?
Not from my side.
What?
My answer from not my side. Either the government also agree with them. Botulism is not cause of mass mortality in such a large tragedy of migratory birds. Meanwhile, because happen together with them, like that, rain is come and the water level is rising there. So that time is not encroachment of water from the Sambar lake. This is the around when we have just survey in social survey in the particular Sambar lake and near all that. So we have get information from the local person. So they have asked me, this is a very uncommon water level rising from this year, and I'm sharing some of more information regarding that. Lot of power units like solar established unit and all things come from last 2 and 3 years ago. So they have building power line by using of aluminum wire. So previous that they have water encroachment is very uncommon, and if getting the water, so it's okay. They are using the individual pump and getting the water and all things. But now this time, electricity is reached in bank of Sambar Lake. So you just all of expert in this panel, you just think कि क्या है कि मतलब जैसे मान लीजिए कि एक टावर लगा हुआ है इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का. So if water level पोल होते हैं उसको इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक जोन जो है वो क्रिएट हो जाएगा. एंड दैट रीजन कि केवल जो स्मॉल वेदर्स जो थे वो ही इफेक्टेड हुए, आइदर कि फ्लेमिंगो जो थे वो इफेक्टेड नहीं हुए because they have not because they have used to is very small amount of that. And one of more important things to share with you and all of रिसर्चर कि वो जब पावर सप्लाई जो करते हैं वो करते हैं अराउंड 8 to 9 o'clock बाद में शाम को, एंड मॉर्निंग में 6 बजे तक वो कंप्लीट कर लेंगे. सो दिस इज द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट कि हाँ भाई उनको इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पावर जो है वो वहां से प्रोवाइड हो रहा है.
Thank you, Daulal ji. We have discussed a lot about the thing, and there is one more question for all of you. What impact on animals when human-made food is given to them? Because Rajmona ma'am discussed about monkeys dependent on the human food. So she has asked, Mahindra Devendra has asked, what impact on animals when human-made food is given to them?
Regarding COVID.
No, ma'am. That monkeys, they are dependent on the human food now. So she's asking, like fishes, we give balls to them for eating. People give floor balls to them. We give rotis to monkeys. So she's asking,
Yes.
what's the effect of human-made food on animals?
See, it is supposed that we should not feed wild animals. As per the rule, there is a clear-cut instruction that that practice has to be discouraged, because they seem to be liking this particular taste. Not even the case of monkeys. Generally, we have even seen the mountain goats, the of that Munnar, that Nilgiri tar, so fond of eat watermelons and other waste which we throw out of the kitchen. So they are tasting totally different food. And we can see monkeys eating the Lay's packet also, potato wafers also. But it is not a healthy habit.
Is any research done on this part that they are having any physiological effect, or they are?
Not gone through it. Not gone through it.
Okay, fine. Thank you, ma'am. There is one question by Awad. I suppose it's for Daulal Boraji, and the question is not very clear, but he's asking because to how to increase vulture population, as there is lot of dead bodies are seen rotten at roadside, because no vulture is there to eat. So I'm not getting the question. How to increase vulture population, as there is lot of dead bodies are seen rotten at the roadside because no vulture is there to eat almost in all states of India. So would you like to comment on it?
Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, I understand the question, and I'm happy to share overview. I'm belonging to where the vulture population is the highest in the Asian subcontinent. So this is the due to dead animals management. So yes, yeah, this is not proper management, roadside kill and the feral dead animals and all things. But yes, if you have stabilized around short, because vulture is not sophisticated animals. Vulture is not sophisticated birds. So they have around to manage to dead animals in a particular small every small village levels and all things. So this is the possible to manage the population nearby area around the 40 to 50 kilometers, and we maintain the population, and we restricted the local migration. So is it possible?
Let me add something here. The vultures are being nurtured near a place called Pinjore. This project has been given by some of the Persians group of the people from Bombay, because as you know, for excavating, they need such kind of a birds. So these birds have been protected by such group of the people. Your mic is off, Vikas. Vikas ji, your mic is off.
Sorry. Okay. So we had very interesting discussion, and we would like to continue, but we are getting short of time, and the participants, they have to do other work also, so they are asking when it will be over. So we'll continue this tomorrow, but before we go, I would like to thank all of you, and for the formal vote of thanks, I will invite the head of our department and the convener, Dr. Rina.
Thank you, Vikas. Good afternoon to all. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this informative and memorable first day of very first webinar of our zoology department. First and foremost, I heartily thank our patron and principal, Dr. M.L. Agarwal sir, for giving us the opportunity, valuable guidance, and unstinted support for webinar. Our sincere and deep gratitude to our special guests and speakers, Dr. Raj Mohana K. ma'am and Dr. Upendranath Roy sir and Daulal Bohra sir for gracing this webinar. We are extremely thankful to you all for sharing with us the important facts, opinion, and learnings about the relevant topic today. And special thanks to IQAC coordinator, Dr. Manjula Mishra ma'am, S.K. Gupta sir, Achal Mehra sir, Dr. Renu ma'am, and Dr. R.K. Upadhyay sir for the contribution and in all our efforts. I extend warm regards to Assistant Director, Dr. Sunita Pachauri ma'am, who motivates us with a smile and words of encouragement. Very special and deserving thanks to advisor of this webinar, Dr. Anita Sharma, who constantly and continuously gave her valuable support to us. I'll mention specially the names of organizing secretary, Mr. Vikas Saxena, and co-organizing secretary, Dr. Prakash Sharma, who have worked tirelessly 24/7 for the success of webinar. A big salute to them. I owe heartfelt gratitude to the members of Central Web Committee, Dr. Vyuma, Dr. Sanjay Jain, Dr. Ramesh Joshi, Dr. Sanjana Sharma, and Dr. Renu Punia for technical support with expertise. They are committed to make all the webinars a great success. It's really inspiring to see. Thank you to my dear colleagues and members of organizing committee for their support and cooperation. And thanks to all distinguished delegates from far off places, faculty members, teaching and non-teaching staff for accepting, attending, and participating in this webinar. Thank you so much to all.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We are ending this meeting now and looking forward to meet you tomorrow. And all the experts, you can also join tomorrow if you wish. So we can have another panel discussion with you, with all of you on the board with the other experts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vikas. Thank you very much.